Hello there, my name is Amanda and today's video is something a little different on my channel, but I am going to be talking about the movies that I watched in 2018 that I really liked or that stood out of all the movies that I watched last year. So I'm also a big movie fan as well as a book fan, so I really wanted to make these type of videos. I want to start talking about movies, maybe not in depth and not any reviews, but I do like talking about movies and seeing what people like also. I also like checking out those types of movies, so I hope anyone who's interested checks it out. But yeah, let's get started. So to start off, I have about 10 individual movies that I will be talking about, just give it like a little bit of a plot but also give why I liked it. But I have an entire series of movies. I'm just gonna mention it now because no point in getting it into details because I'm sure everyone knows. But last year is when I finally caught up with all the Marvel movies, so I obviously love them a lot and they stood out a lot, so I have to mention them. I literally watched from Iron Man all the way to Infinity War. I had seen the movies before, but some of them I skipped or hadn't remembered, so I just rewatched all of them literally I think in a month, and it was amazing and definitely an experience I'll never forget. The next 10 following movies kind of don't go into any order, but they are the order of kind of the first movie I watched in the year to the last movie I watched in the year. I can't tell you exactly when I watched them, but I went through my list of movies because I keep track of all the movies I watched and in 1 month. So they kind of start from potentially the first movie I saw of the year and then going to potentially the last movie I saw of the year. So I hope that makes sense, but yeah. So my first choice is The Book Thief. This is one that I believe at the time was on Netflix. I'm not sure if it still is or not. I knew this was a World War II movie, and I think at the time I knew it came from a book. I'm not 100% sure. So we follow this girl who is growing up during the events of World War II, and she discovers her love of books, but in World War II they used to burn books and stuff like that, so she kind of, as the title suggests, steals books and reads them and stuff, and there's a lot more to it. I don't want to say anything to spoil, especially if you plan on watching it, but it is such a good movie and a sad movie, but I'm a fan of World War II books and movies, so I definitely had to watch it, and I was not disappointed. I cried literally at this movie. I definitely recommend everyone to check it out, especially if you're a fan of World War II, but I will also be picking up the book because of how good and amazing the movie was, but that is the first movie I have to mention. The next movie is an old one, but I finally got around to it. I think this was literally at the beginning of the year, around January, and I don't know why it took me so long to watch this movie. I've heard it time and time again mentioned on Game Grumps by Dan Avidan, and maybe that kind of gave away, but I watched The Last Unicorn, and holy crap, okay. First off, the animation is gorgeous. The drawings are gorgeous. Everything about it is so gorgeous, and I can understand why people love this movie when they see it. That's exactly what happened to me. I just felt very whimsical and such, and I still can't believe I put it off for so many years, but thankfully Netflix had it, and that's why I checked it out. Definitely one of my favorite probably animated movies I've seen of the year. Obviously that's why it's on this list, but it's definitely a classic now. I'm definitely gonna be watching it once a year, and I'm actually gonna be buying the book for it. I already have one graphic novel, and I believe a new edition is being released of The Last Unicorn, the book, so I'm definitely gonna be picking that up. I've already pre-ordered it. This was such a good movie, and even though it's old, I do recommend people to check it out, especially if you like animated movies. It's really great, and the drawings and animations are not as bad as probably people think if it's the year, because that's definitely what I thought. But yeah, definitely this is one of the movies that impressed me, but also shocked me to my very core. The next movie, oh my god. Okay, the next movie. I watched this on a whim. I have no idea why I watched it, but I was like, the premise sounds interesting, and I think I saw a trailer for it on Instagram or something like that, but that is Seven Sisters, and oh my god, this is literally one of my favorite movies of all time. It's definitely up there with my Marvel movies, with the X-Men movies. I cannot believe how good this is. I know a lot of people don't like it, and I know a lot of people love it just as much as I do, but when they say there's a cult following for this, I am part of that cult following. Holy crap. I literally force everyone I know to watch it who I know will like this genre. Like, I won't be suggesting it to someone like my mother, who doesn't like that kind of stuff, but someone like my best friend, perfect recommendation. Like, she's definitely gonna love it. And she did. She watched it, loved it. Even her boyfriend loved it. And even he's iffy and picky on movies. So I can't recommend it for everyone because it's either a love or you hate it kind of movie. But I will say, if you do end up loving it, like, it's just one of those movies. Like I said, it's one of my all-time favorite movies. And it's really hard having to not recommend a movie you love, but if you are slightly interested in this movie, I will recommend checking it out. It's kind of a dystopian type movie, and it follows 7 sisters, as the name suggests, but it is in a world where everyone should only have 1 child, and somehow 7 children, all twin, all identical looking sisters, survive. It is such a great movie. I have to stop talking or I will go on and continue raving about this movie. The next one is a very sad one, and I remember being so... I don't even know how to describe how I felt, but watching the movie and then reading up on the true story of it just made me feel sad, but also just amazed by how human beings can be. And that movie is Neerja. This movie took me by storm. Like, I don't know what I was expecting, but this hit me so hard in the heart, like from beginning to end. And the fact that it's a true story and this is exactly what happened, like, I don't know how to describe my feelings, but it's one that, like, when I think about it, I just want to, like, think about Neerja, not the movie but the person, and just realize, like, I just want to think about her and like it's hard to explain, but if you watch the movie or know the true story of Neerja, you might understand where I'm coming from. But basically, for those who don't know, the plot follows a flight attendant who saves basically everyone on a plane from being hijacked, and I will highly recommend watching the movie. It's an Indian movie, so there is some English, but mostly Indian language in it, but definitely worth it. Like, I didn't even second guess it when I knew this was a movie, because I'd heard of Neerja before, and then but I didn't know it was a movie. So when I heard it was a movie, I needed to watch it, and it didn't fail. Like, I can't say I love this movie because it's such a sad story, but at the same time, like, I love that they made a movie about this wonderful person who did such a thing that most humans probably wouldn't even think of doing, and like thinking, like, she's a great human being, and I'm so sad that this happened to her, but I do recommend checking out the movie. If you really want a good cry, check out the movie. The next one is the only horror movie on this list, and I am a horror fan. Like, I love horror movies, and having only one on this list is kind of sad because I didn't see that many horror movies, at least not that were good, but I still appreciate all horror movies that I watch, because if they're not good, that means they're funny, and that's like the best part of horror movies. But one that I did watch that not only I really enjoyed the first half, but also went from a twist that I did not expect, and also loved exactly the direction it took. And this was just like kind of everything that I loved in horror, but also like not the mix that I expected. But if I keep going on, you may never know what the movie is, but that is The Ritual, which is a movie on Netflix. I watched this with my best friend. It just seemed the kind of horror movie that we both enjoy, and we were blown away. First off, there is the main part of the movie. Basically, it follows a group of men, I don't know how many, maybe 4 or 5, who go to Sweden or something. I think they go to Sweden or some Nordic place to climb this mountain that one of their best friends who passed away wanted to visit during a vacation or something, so they all went to kind of commemorate his memory. And then they go through a forest, and basically, like, shit goes down, but it is, holy crap. Like I said, I watched, like, probably the half the movie, 1/3 of the movie, expecting it to go one way, and then went the other way, but I was just as pumped to know what happens. Like, I wasn't shocked to the point of being, like, confused or being like, why is this their direction? Like, it was unexpected and probably doesn't make a lot of sense. but I loved it even more for that. It's hard to go into details because I don't want to give anything away. I do recommend checking it out, especially if you're a fan of horror movies. It has a supernatural element, so if you're not a fan of that, I maybe don't recommend that, but as a horror fan, I would recommend checking it out, even if it's just out of curiosity and then having your own opinion on it. I think like that's the best way to discover movies. So I definitely recommend it for those who like horror movies and those who like supernatural elements in movies or are just curious. The next movie is an unexpected one. I didn't think I would enjoy it so much, but that is In the Heart of the Sea, which is a movie about the book Moby Dick. And really, it's just the book format of it. The way that it is said is like someone else telling the story, but you're also like seeing what he is saying instead of him just explaining it. So basically it starts off with the author of Moby Dick going to see one of their survivors on the ship, and the survivor is then telling his story, telling his connections to people, telling everything about the characters and their adventures and their disasters, and this was so good. Like, okay, I basically watched it because, one, it had Chris Hemsworth in it, and two, it had Tom Holland in it, and at this point I had seen all the Marvel movies, so I was pretty hooked, but also I just didn't expect it to be that good. Like, I was expecting it to be great. I was expecting it to be a good movie, but I didn't expect it to be the kind of movie that I'm just like, I would watch this again, and I absolutely love it for it. It is kind of harsh, I guess. I heard some people say they can't get through the book, and I'm just like, well, if you can't get through the book, you can't get through the movie, but make the decision for yourself. I definitely liked it. I like the story of it. I might even read Moby Dick if that's the case. Maybe I'll hate the book more than the movie, but I would like to give it a shot anyways. But yeah, I recommend it for those who are curious to see a movie about Moby Dick. The next one is on this list only because I didn't expect to like it as much. I won't say it's the best movie ever made. If anything, I think it's not that well liked. But I did like the setting of it. I did like the premise of it. And also, I didn't expect the ending, which I think tied it really all in together for me. But that is Remember Me. This is a movie that follows a boy who meets a girl, or is like dared to meet this girl and kind of make her fall in love with him, which sounds really dumb. But at the same time, like, as he's doing that, he's falling in love with her. But the ending, the twist, like, a lot of people say they don't like the twist of this movie because it seems really far-fetched and really out there, which I get, but I think because I guess it just made sense for me because the movie was such, like, it's a coming-of-age movie, which I quite like, which is, I think, why it stood out for me, because I quite like coming-of-age movies, but at the same time, the twist just makes it all the more real of what it is. I don't want to say what the twist is. You can look it up if you want to, or just watch the movie, but I think it was a great story of telling how simple life can be and then drastically change from something as disastrous as what happens in the movie. I did really like it. I felt gripped by it, and also I really liked some of the characters in the movie, which sometimes does not usually happen. Sometimes I don't really like the characters, but in this one I did like it, so I wouldn't recommend it for everyone, but I did have to mention it because, like I said, I really did enjoy it more than I thought I would. And like I said, I don't think it's the greatest movie, but for me, it was good enough for me to put on this list. The next movie is one that I had been anticipating to watch since it was announced, and that is Mamma Mia 2. Oh my god, okay. So I had seen Mamma Mia, I think it was 12 or 13, and I loved it. I fell in love with ABBA songs, I fell in love with Amanda Seyfried, I fell in love with Meryl Streep, and then they announced the second movie 10 years later, and I will say I was happy, excited, but also scared. When you're told a movie that you love is getting a sequel when it's been 10 years, you're just wondering what path they're gonna take, but this movie honestly is able to do such a great movie. I don't think anyone can like it. I think most critics who saw it were like, oh, it just looks like this and that, but I think you really need to understand the first movie and then see the second. I don't think you just watch it as standalone, but I found all the actors to be great. I didn't find it as funny as the original movie, I will say, at least in the first half of the movie. The second half was really funny, but that did not affect the movie overall for me. I really like that they kept that kind of tone, especially in the beginning when you're learning about Donna's life. Basically, I didn't explain it, but this movie takes place 10 years later from the first movie, and it follows Meryl Streep's character Donna, kind of like how she came to the Greek island that they live on, and also following her daughter Amanda Seyfried as she kind of rebuilds the hotel her mom was running or something like that. Very beautiful. I love the songs by it. Fell even more in love with ABBA. Fell even more in love with Meryl Streep, Amanda Seyfried, and I cried at the end. Like, it hit me right in the heart, and like, I will only recommend it for those who want to love a movie, but it is a musical, so I get that most people don't like musicals, but I loved it. Definitely worth waiting all those years for it, and I actually own it on DVD, so I'm definitely going to be watching it again. Alright, we're almost done with this list. So the before last movie is another one that I was hyped for, that is Crazy Rich Asians, and I went to see this with my mom. We both loved it. Okay, the story is kind of typical-ish because of like the way that it's built. Basically, you follow a girl who is dating a boy, and he takes her back to Singapore and finds out he's really like the richest family. He's part of the richest family ever in Singapore, so it's kind of that clash. But at the same time, because this is like a first take on an Asian culture, it really just shows just how wonderful these movies can be, and how Hollywood really shouldn't sleep on Asian actors and just people of color in general. And I think this was a great movie to showcase that. Like, the movie was great. I definitely think the added elements of the culture behind the family and the reason why their beliefs are a certain way, but also seeing the Asian American perspective, I think like it was such a good movie. I think it was just like I don't want to say, but like I think if it was just like regular white people, it would have been like a meh movie. But I think the fact that it concentrates on the Asian characters and their families and the culture and the traditions, like I think that's what made it so wonderful, and definitely made me learn a lot about it, but also understand like the conflicting parts of both families. Like, I could understand both families, but then there's just a line where I was like, you know what, that ain't cool. But if you want to know what that is, I definitely recommend checking it out. It's a rom-com, so like if you don't like those, like I get it, but I think for what it represents, everyone should check it out, because this could be something Hollywood should pay attention to. The last movie on this list is another one that I not only found so funny, but it was action-packed, and it just made me miss Korean movies, because it is a Korean movie, because I quite love their plot lines in some, and especially the horror movies, like they're tip-top shape. But the movie is Psychokinesis. Basically, this is a superhero movie, but it's a take on also a family drama, I guess. So basically the movie follows a man who drinks from a water source that is somehow enchanted with something and gets these superhero powers, but it also follows him as he is disconnected from his daughter, and he kind of tries to help her during this drastic change in her life. I believe her shop is getting shut down because it was sold to this company who wants to destroy it and build like a mall or something. It's a little complicated, but basically he tries to help her while also kind of controlling his superhero powers, and this was such a good movie. It was gripping, it was so funny, and at the same time it really just goes to show like family dynamic. Like, it's a family drama, but it's so funny. It has superheroes. Like, I cannot stop talking about the superhero aspect, but it's one that I don't think we see enough in superheroes. Like the comedy take, like Marvel has just started doing those kinds of movie where it's funny but also gripping, especially like with Thor Ragnarok. Like, that's the kind of movies I really love. I love the funny movies with action in it. Like, I could probably like just watch those and be happy with my life. But definitely recommend checking it out. Such a good Korean movie, especially if you're interested in Korean movies, definitely check it out. If you're interested in superhero movies, definitely check it out. And if you want to have a good laugh, check it out. Do yourself the favor and check this movie out. I think it was a really popular movie in Korea when it came out. So that just goes to show how really good it is. Alright, so that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this video if you did end up watching it. I know it's very different to the book videos I have been posting on the channel, but I also really love movies, so I really want to put this kind of content out for both me in the future and also for anyone else to enjoy. So yeah, if you did like this video, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe, but I understand if you don't want to. Also leave me a comment down below giving me any of your favorite movies of the year, because if I missed any, I want to know, and I want to write it down so that I can go see it. Also, if you only had one favorite, or if you really recommend a movie, no matter how old it is, no matter how new it is, let me know, because I will check it out. Like, I love it when people recommend me movies, because I just want to see that movie right away. Like, that's just the type of person I am. But yeah, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will potentially see you in my next one. Bye!